For this part, we're going to look at modifying strings, okay? So let's say we have a string called modifying strings, right? So let's try first to print it, just so we can see as a baseline what A looks like. So print A, and as a variable string. So as you can see, modifying string will print here. Now let's suppose you assume that by accessing a specific character within the string and modify it. So for example, let's say we wanted to reach character 3, right? So starting at 0. All right, so if you print that, that's little lowercase I here, right here, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3. Now let's say we want to modify that to be an uppercase P, right, ahead of time. And let's see what would happen. So first, let's go ahead and make sure we have our A. So we have our baseline. And then you attempt to do something like this. A3 equals uppercase P as a string, or even character P, whatever you want here. Now, and you try to print A. Now, you would assume this will alter that I into an uppercase P. However, we're going to learn something very important here, that a string, you cannot modify it, right? So you cannot directly change it. So let's go ahead and do this. As you can see here, the string does not support a reassignment of a character, right? So you can think of it as a constant. So when you decided that A has these, then these will remain. Immutable, cannot be changed. So what can you do? Well, let's say we wanted to make all of this capital, and you wanted to capitalize all of these to uppercase. And again, it's a modification. You can't just do it to A itself. So you could get an image of that. So you could do something A dot, watch this, and we could do upper and print it. However, that does not change A. So let's go ahead and print A. So you can actually use a method within strings to at least return a value that is uppercase for all characters. However, that does not alter A. So let's go ahead and try that. And you can see here we get back our string. This is okay if you want to do something like this. But can I, in other ways, if I really wanted that string all uppercase and hold on to it within my program, well, then you can reassign it to a different variable. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So let me just go ahead and print A here. And we're going to do B equals A dot upper. Now you can do that. Now you're creating a new string B that is all uppercase, and it in itself, okay, is a separate entity. And let's go ahead and print that. As you can see here, we're printing B, which is, again, a string all by itself, which takes the result of A changed to uppercase, at least temporarily. But that does not change A. So if we print A again, A is still the original string. Okay, so it's very important. So how about lowering B? Well, if we printed B and it's all uppercase, can we print it as B to lower? So B dot, it's a string, and then we could pick the method lower, let's print it, but that does not alter B because B itself is all uppercase. However, while we're printing right here, this does not alter B, but it gives us a return value of B all lowercase. If I print B again, you will see that B remains a string with all characters uppercase. Okay? Could I have assigned it to another string called C, for example? Yeah, absolutely, you could do that. So now we've seen the methods upper and lower that allow you to change all characters to lower or upper. How about replacing a character while we're displaying things? So let's go ahead and back to here. And let's say we want to replace I, right? That was number 3, with, let's say, P. All right, let's go ahead and print. And remember, this does not alter A, but it would replace it temporarily right here. So again, we're going to look for I, lowercase, and replace it with uppercase P. Now let's see what happens when you do that. Okay, so all lowercase i's were replaced with P. However, remember that A is still the same. It didn't really alter A itself. Okay? Now, can I again assign it to another string? Absolutely, if you want to do that. Okay? So that's replacing. How about splitting? So we're going to look at split, and we're going to also look at strip. Let's start with strip first. Let's say we had a space here, and let's say we had a space here. Let's run this. Now, if I didn't have that space, watch the output here, right here, that little space here. Watch what happens. And we're going to run it, and notice it goes back. So it does take into account an empty character. Now, we can't see this one here on the output, but we do know that the string is composed of at least 3 blank characters, one here, and one here. So let's go ahead and strip A. So A dot strip. So we're going to use the strip. And if you leave it blank like this, let's see what happens. Notice we're back to here. So it takes out the ends of it, not the one in the middle. Okay? So it will take out the ones on the ends. Let's go ahead and do a split now. And but for the split, I'm going to put a comma here and use that as my delimiter or indicator. That's what I'm splitting on. So dot split, and I'm going to tell it this time that I'm splitting wherever you encounter a comma. Now let's see what happens here. Now this is going to be interesting because the output right here is not going to be just a string, but it's going to be, believe it or not, a list. Let's see what happens. There you have it. So it breaks down or tokenizes whatever we have here as pieces of data. And notice it includes the blank here, the blank here, and the blank here. So it's split it based on this. Now let's suppose we didn't put a comma and see what kind of splitting is going to happen here. Okay, so here, as you can see, it takes in the comma as part of the first token or first piece of information, but no spaces. So here it splits based on spaces, and it creates modifying with a comma here and this one. Now let's say we didn't have spaces, right? And let's run this again. As you can see, you get the same result. So remember, this comma here is part of the first token. Now let's take it out and let's run it, and notice no more comma under modifying. But you do have a comma here that delineates or shows that you have 2 elements in this list. Okay, so for our next lesson, we're going to look at formatting strings. I will see you then.